Hey, welcome to my shop. I was told by my subscribers on my main channel to make a separate channel for all of my repair shit. I'm actually a mechanic, at least I'm allegedly a mechanic, and I have a few little things that I've learned along the way. So I'm gonna get right into it. On old bikes like the one behind me here, you have the Phillips head crankcase cover, clutch cover screws that hold all the shit together, and a lot of the time you'll have rookie mechanics get on there and just absolutely obliterate the heads on these screws, and it's quite embarrassing. Looks terrible when it happens, and it makes you feel like shit when it does happen. Rather than taking your screwdriver and popping the your shoulder out of the socket, I've got a few little tricks that I've learned to alleviate that issue. Now, you hear a lot of people say that well, just use a impact driver to get it out. Sometimes people like me, you know, rednecks out in the woods, we don't really have stuff like that sometimes, and it also doesn't always work. What you want to do is grab yourself one of these. It's basically a weighted drift with a flat end on it. I picked one of these up years ago. A lot of people will say, "Oh, well, why don't you just drill it out? You know, just drill a screw out, and it'll be fine." Well, sometimes you want to actually restore it, or not necessarily. This process can sometimes actually restore the heads on these screws, as opposed to, you know, destroying them and having to extract, and it's such a fucking pain in the ass. You don't want to deal with it. So I'm going to show you just this little trick that I don't think I made it up, but I figured it out along the way. Let me give you a closer look. Okay, so here's the screw in question. I've actually kind of purposely ruined it for this video. I was, you know, unable to get it off with my screwdriver, you know, at least by hand. Maybe I'm a big old pussy, but I'll be the judge of that, I think, on my own video. This is actually not that bad. I've seen them real bad where people try to take an electric drill, a high-speed drill, and put it on, and it's a nightmare. It's a real big mistake to do that on these. You know, they get old. I mean, sometimes they never end up getting taken off. So they get really stuck in there, and that's usually the purpose of an impact driver. So what I usually do is I'll grab my punch or drift or whatever you want to call this goddamn thing. I found it in a toolbox a long time ago. It belonged to my dad, and this ball peen hammer, and I usually just put it right on the tip, try to align it pretty well, and give it a couple of good whacks. And you can already see it's starting to, I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's starting to kind of flatten and come back in a little bit. And if you give it a few more whacks, it's actually kind of closed up a little bit more. And in accordance with that process, I have this really cheap little bit driver that has a hole in it. It's pretty important for this process to have the little hole. And I take the biggest bit that will fit in this hole. So it basically just fits. A lot of the time I'll get it to the point where it's even too big. And I actually, since this thing is so cheap and I don't really care about it, I'll actually drive it into the hole. So it kind of just stays there. And not only are we kind of restoring the hole, you know, for the Phillips head pattern, we're also shocking those threads back there, and that's the purpose of your impact driver. So usually I'll put another screwdriver in there like that, give you some leverage, and that should just come right off. in most situations. Sometimes you have to really get mean with them, but this one came out relatively easy. So anyway, pretty simple little trick. It goes to show you can get a lot done with a hammer and a drift. And this method, I've used it on several different kinds of screws, even flathead sometimes. I've used it on Allen head sometimes, and I've actually gotten some pretty good success with Allens. You can sometimes get away with using a slightly larger size, and actually I've actually ended up pounding the larger size into the stripped out hole, and it actually has loosened it up. But even with screws that I haven't even messed with, because you know, if you're getting paid to do a job, you want to do it pretty quickly. So I'll even doesn't even matter if I've even touched the screws on some of these older machines. Sometimes I'll just give it a few whacks with the drift and hammer, just to loosen things up, just to shock those threads and get it loose and do the rest of my work. Thanks for watching this video. I hope it wasn't too boring. This is just my second channel in accordance with my my cooking channel. If you want to check that out, it's youtube.com/thebear9000, and I do more comedy and a lot of cooking on that channel, and there's a lot of vulgar language, so watch out. Have a good day, and let me know how this video turned out. I'll talk to you later.